you ready? I'm ready. You ready?
Good evening, everyone. This is Michael C. Voice, coming to you live from Hollywood, California. It's Spooky Tinseltown Tales 4 on last night's show with Ms. Meliz. Tonight's special guest is Joe Moe, the horror expert from Mad Monster Magazine. And now, with co-host Cindy Harrison, here is the enormously enchanting Melissa Reyes.
Hi, everybody. You heard the intro, right? Okay, so it's last night's show with Ms. Meliz. And what did I say? I said something really remarkable about it being Terror Night in Tinseltown. And I'm here with my friend Joe Moe and Cindy Harrison. And I played everything twice and did everything twice. So today's brought to you by the letter T. Why the hell not?
T for terror.
Terror.
Pennsylvania.
Transylvania. So welcome, Joe. How are you?
Hi, kids. I'm great. Happy Halloweeners, everybody. This is what, year 4 for us, huh?
This is year 4, or like I like to say, IV.
We're old enough to drink now.
Well then, cheers.
Cheers.
Ooh. So what shall we talk about, my dears?
We should talk about horror, the state of horror, the state of the horror genre. It's incredible. This has been our year.
The State of the Horror Address by Joe Moe.
Well, I mean, think about it.
By Joe.
Horror rules the roost again. We've got Split, did gangbusters. Get Out was a fresh, amazing hit that made $100 million its first weekend, and then we just had It, which killed it. So horror is really on top, and people are loving it again, and people are parking their little Halloween booties in chairs and actually watching movies in theaters. So that's cool.
That is cool. You know what? You're right. We like scary things. We really do. You know.
We're scared. I recently did an interview with for Famous Monsters magazine with Adrienne Barbeau, and I asked her. I said, how do you feel about horror movies? She said, "Oh, Joe, you don't ask me that question." I said, "Of course I do." She said, "I'm scared of them. I like being in them, but I don't like making them. I mean, I don't like watching them." And I said, "Well, the best of us are just voluntary chickens. We love to be. If we weren't scared, we would hate it. We love to be scared." So.
Oh my goodness! Voluntary chickens.
Yeah, we walk willingly into the slaughterhouse. We love it.
I can't find a good place for us. Here. There's a good place. Let me see.
There's a place for us.
There's a place for us. I don't. Oh, that. I don't want to. I want to put us there with our pumpkins.
Are you manipulating us?
I am. I'm moving. You'll see later.
You're not putting me in the dungeon again, are you?
No. No. I'm just being horribly rude and interrupting you while you're talking about who is it? Adrienne Barbeau.
Yes.
That's awesome.
She's cool.
But
horror people are the coolest.
Because they don't watch the movies, they're in it.
It's funny. There's people that I've talked to a lot of actors who had a lot of trepidation about doing horror movies. They, because they've heard the stigmas of typecasting, and they think that it's all about gore and torture and all of that. And a lot of them, after they've worked in horror, and they realize how firmly rooted it is in classic literature, a lot of them have a newfound respect for it, and they find that there's, like Adrienne actually said, she gets to do a range of things she doesn't get to do in regular movies because it's so intense. And I think that's fun and exciting for a creative person or an actor to do.
I love that the intensity. We talked about this before. My roots of learning about history of music started in high school when I took classes about film and the original, Orson Welles and stuff like that, and learning about just like even in the background here with the shading and shadows and lighting and how it set the mood and the music and all of that. I just love it. I recognize all that cinematography, and there's so much to it. There's
a lot of craft that goes into horror, more than most.
Yes.
All of the elements that have to come together in order for it to be convincing, in order for it to be fresh, in order for it to build the kind of suspense that will actually let you be scared, because we're used to it now, We're desensitized. That's why a movie like Get Out, it takes a fresh angle on horror, is so invigorating.
I don't know anything about Get Out. Tell me about it.
Watch it. Well, Jordan Peele from the comedy team, blah, 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 blah. I'm so terrible with names, but I was lucky enough to go to the Blumhouse screening of Get Out, and Jordan Peele, the director, was there. And he sounded just like one of us. He said, when I was 12, from the time I was a kid, I wanted to make a horror movie. And he said when he was, he was a mixed race family. But when he became a teenager, became a young adult, he decided he was going to identify as black, as the black side of his family. And he said that was the first time when he really totally began to understand what racism was about. So he decided when he got to make his horror movie, that racism would be his monster. And that's kind of the movie that he made, but using all the tropes that we love so much from the losing the loved ones tropes of, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the Stepford Wives, all of those cool things that we like and that scare us over and over again. Zombies are sort of, a testament to that. Someone that you love suddenly doesn't recognize you anymore and wants to eat your brain. That's a terrifying
thing. It's our fears, right? Our inner fears.
So horror it's taken a turn towards the sophisticated once again. A lot of the new generation of filmmakers and artists really have an appreciation for classic horror and the depth of it, and they're starting to test the depths again, and we're coming out with some great things. Blumhouse can't go wrong. Their formula is so terrific and so rooted in the funhouse, bringing the funhouse back to people who've never seen it before, like me, who are happy to revisit it. And it's really a great formula. It's cool.
Okay, so how about it? What was the timing of bringing it out now? A whole new generation got to see it.
Well,
and that was our time when it came out. I didn't see the new one, but I wanted to. But I knew better.
You got to be a voluntary chicken. You got to see me and go see it. Well, I mean, a lot of people, we live in a time now where people don't even give things a chance. I was so excited, and when I heard that Universal was going to do their Dark Universe and bring the monsters back to life, because like Shakespeare, it's adapted through time, and it reemerges, it hibernates, and it comes back in new shapes and forms, and that excites me. But a lot of people say you shouldn't remake things that are great. Disrespect, blah blah blah. But the way I look at it is, like Shakespeare, I've seen great Shakespeare with a bench and a paper cup in a park, and I've seen it on a big stage with and I couldn't tell you which one was more effective because it's rooted in truths and it's rooted in things that are relative to us, and so is horror. And when I heard that Bill Condon, who did Gods and Monsters and who just made Disney $1 billion with Beauty and the Beast, was going to do Bride of Frankenstein, I said, hallelujah, that's it. He'd do a great job. Now they pulled the plug on these since. I don't know what the future of them are, but we live in a great time where it's not just people that don't have ideas. I used to complain in the 80s and 90s, doesn't anybody have a fresh idea? But there are people that grew up enjoying it on TV and wanted to bring it forward for another generation. So it's a much more generous, repurposing of something that's great. And Stephen King is the master. I could watch anything that's made of what he does, is going to be at least intriguing. At worst, it's going to be intriguing, and at the very most, it's going to be spectacular and horrifying. And it succeeds.
Did you see it, Cindy, the first time? She's just shaking her head. Say something.
I don't know. The last really horrifying movie I have watched was
Gone with the Wind.
No, Basic Instinct. To me, that was horror. That was terrifying. because I kind of could tell what was going to happen before it happened, and I ended up keeping my eyes closed through most of it. And it's like, no, I don't ever. Before that, it was I did the Alien, I did the Friday the 13th and Halloween, and all those things, and it's like, no, I can't go there. But I did watch Bride of Frankenstein as you recommended,
And
I watched the Black Sunday.
Yes, with Barbara
I
Steele.
watched that one, but I did not watch Insidious.
Yeah, Insidious was a good example of modern horror that's reviving that funhouse. A lot of old tricks repurposed and freshened up and innovated so that they're not just rip-offs, and they work because they work.
I didn't know what version you wanted me to watch, so I didn't. Insidious.
Well, the first one, you could start at the beginning, and if you liked it, there's 2 subsequent ones, and my dear friend Adam Robitel has directed the 4th, which is due out, I think, next year, and he's brilliant and loves horror and is just exploding. He's working a lot, and I love talking to about horror with him. Brilliant.
I don't really even remember the last horror film I saw, to be perfectly honest. I just saw, as far as psychological thrillers, though, we saw, I forget what I was going to say. I got so scared looking at myself. We saw the, what's the one when I see dead people?
The Sixth Sense.
The Sixth Sense. Watched
That's
it.
about 10 years old, isn't it?
It's really old. Now that's my point. We saw it with our son Roman, who'd never seen it before. So sitting down and watching films with someone who's never seen them is a really interesting. It's a trip, especially that one. Seeing it all the way through and having the reaction that you would expect if you've seen the film, and just it was really cool. So kind of interesting going through that, and I'd like to see some other films like that with him, just to kind of relive it.
Any of the Blumhouse films are scary and full of suspense and have a lot of jump scares, but they're also entertaining. They're a lot of fun.
My good friend Maria Humphreys went with her kids to see it, and then she posted the funniest picture of her and her kids afterwards next to like a gutter, and they were screaming like they were afraid to go by it. They did just a lot of like fun, hammy pictures just to kind of get over the fear of it.
That's part of the fun of it. Part of the fun of it is, you carry it home with you, and everybody relates to the scares, and everybody protects each other. It's a kind of a good, the family that goes to horror movies together.
Screams together.
The family that screams together stays together. What?
Get together ends up in the gutter together. That's
something like that. Well, I just think anything about going to the movies together, whether it's drama or tearjerkers or horror films, it's to cause an emotional reaction, and that I think that's what, as a writer, that's what we want, and so filmmakers, that's what we want.
They want to move people, and they want to tell a story that teaches and that relates, and that
and that's what we have in common too with Cindy as an artist. We've found that we like that. Just when you finish a piece and you show it to somebody and they say, "Wow, you did that!" That feeling is pretty cool. That's why I've got all my art back here.
It's fun. It's fun. So I remember the whole big hype about Blair Witch. Is that considered a horror?
Yeah, that's a horror movie. That's, this is we call those found footage films. There's a whole rash of them. Adam Robitel again. I really love this guy and respect his work a lot. So, he did a movie called The Taking of Deborah Logan, which is a brilliant spin on the found footage film, because it's documentary style, like Blair Witch was purported to be video that people found, right? And there's been lots of those since then that we could rattle off. Adams was interesting. Taking of Deborah Logan is a sort of a a mockumentary. It's documentary. It's fake documentary about this woman that, and you don't know if she's going into dementia because she's, you know, an elderly woman, if she's going to dementia if something supernatural's happening. And it's quite creepy. It makes everybody's top 10 Halloween movies, you know, in the past 5 years.
I'm going to have to see that one. You know, I never saw the Blair Witch Project until, I think, this past year. I forced myself to watch it. And it was interesting. It was long, and you do ask yourself, did that really happen? And, you know, it was...
Well, you know, the ad campaign was great in L.A. They left those videos on bus stops.
Yes. Oh.
Found them. And it was really brilliant. They made $400 million, I believe. Artisan made it.
Yeah,
that
was crazy.
Everybody had seen it already. People would pick them up from bus stops and said, I found this, look at this. And somebody showed it to me, said, you got to watch this. But we all still went to the theater to see it. So it made a ton of money. So it's a really interesting lesson in marketing.
But the Blair Witch Project, that wasn't real found footage. That was made for the movie, right?
Yeah.
It was all made. Yeah. Okay. Somebody who had the idea.
It's supposed to be. It's like Paranormal Activities, that series.
Right. Oh, that was creepy too. I want to say hi to some people who are in the audience. I want to say hi to Candy Sakai. She's watching from Japan. She's a friend of ours. She's seen our show before, I think, for Halloween.
I forget.
And hi, Michael.
So you want to say hello in Japanese? I forgot to. I'm bad.
Is morning, isn't it?
Say it again.
How do we say
Ohayou gozaimasu is good morning.
Ohayou gozaimasu. Ohayou gozaimasu.
It may be morning for her, so I'm sure she'll appreciate that. And Michael, our announcer, now, unfortunately, Joe and Cindy haven't heard yet the wonderful announcement. I wish I could play it for you, but you're going to have to go back and listen to the replay here. But Michael C. Voice is this voice of last night's show with Ms. Meliz, and he made me shriek a little bit. Because he sounded very kind in the beginning when he started, and then he just got very intense with the Joe Mo and Melissa Reyes. At the end, it was really good. So if you'd like to come in and join us for the discussion, Cindy can give you the link in Messenger. So just say so, and we'll do that. You can come in and join our discussion. I'd love to know what Candy has to say about horror films. I think there's a whole genre of horror and interesting films from the Japanese culture. I think it's really cool.
Good, great, fresh, innovative Japanese horror movies. They really, Ringu and all those movies really influenced us here.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, was it The Ring? Which one was it? There was one, I see them all. The one that was the little boy in the condo was like brightly lit, and it was really disorienting and disarming, and it scared the hell out of you because it was a condo like everybody's lived in at one time or another. It wasn't dark. It was really creepy.
Well, so what have you been up to lately, Joe? As far as work, are you still at the Profiles of History? I edited that video. That was so much fun.
We always have memorabilia on. I just finished working on a Sherlock Holmes auction.
Ooh.
The largest collection of Sherlock Holmes first edition, signed editions, and memorabilia ever. And we're going to have a special dedicated Superman sale in December. Both of those are coming in December. Since I saw you last, we got the corner of Franklin and Vermont down from Forrest J. Ackerman's house down at the foothills of Hollywood, dedicated to him as Forrest J. Ackerman Square.
Wow.
So we did that. That was a great accomplishment.
That is Forrest J. Ackerman Square.
Yeah, lots going on. So Uncle Flory still lives. We keep him alive, keep his memory alive. And other than that, doing a lot of writing, and encouraging a lot of my friends who are making a lot of movies, and trying to see as much as I can. And really happy with the output of horror. It's terrific.
That is great. Now, how about for traveling? Have you been doing your Mad Monster parties?
Yes, I do them in North Carolina. We'll be doing another one in February with Robert Englund. Freddy Krueger will be there. Surprise guests we haven't announced yet. And
it's not me. Just kidding.
You never know. I was at the Dallas Famous Monsters of Filmland convention, which was terrific. And unfortunately, we would be at the Famous Monsters convention in Santa Rosa this weekend, if not for the fires. The fires actually caused my good friend and the publisher, Phil Kim, to cancel the show, which was devastating, really, really awful. But, you know, they were literally in danger, and safety first. But
yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. I know that so many people are disappointed, and it's hard to understand when, you know, you're not there why something like that would get canceled. But there are a lot, being an event planner, I know there are a lot of moving parts. Yeah, you just
still
don't know.
lives there. He was evacuated, and you know, you keep an eye out for opportunities to donate to the effort for the people that have lost their homes and who need help. There's lots of opportunities out there.
Not a time to have parties sometimes, and just you have to make priorities. So, well, I'm sorry to hear that, but you know, there'll be more events for you.
Definitely, we all stick together. We're all looking out for each other. So, you know, just want Phil and all of them to be safe, the team, and then we'll get back and we'll celebrate and have monsters a little later. But real horrors take precedence.
Oh, yeah. Well, cool. So do you have any questions, Cindy, or did you want to talk more about The Bride of Frankenstein? Because you should watch that movie. What were your questions?
Of course, I love Elsa Lancaster. I love her anyway. So that was kind of cool to see her in the earlier days. I don't know that I'd ever seen her that young in a movie. And I watch a lot of older movies, but I don't know that I've ever seen her that young. And I didn't know what to expect. So I'm just watching it along, and she's telling, like, she's the writer of Frankenstein,
playing Mary Shelley in the beginning.
Yeah. And then she's saying, you know, the two men, I don't understand what the connection is between her and the two men that are in the room.
One is her husband, the poet Shelley and Lord Byron. So they were, you know, the story is they were all tucked away on a rainy night, and they had a competition to write a story. So she was married to Percy Shelley, poet, and she's, you know, Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley, and then Lord Byron. So they were all writers.
And so they were kind of thinking that she was sweet and whatever, and she's like, "Oh, you think so?" And then she starts telling the story of her idea of this, the Bride of Frankenstein. But so I get through I really enjoyed it. I really did. And I got to the end, and I'm like looking at the credits, and at the bottom of the credit it says "Monster Mate?" ? Who it was her.
Well, that was what they did in the original too, with Boris Karloff. I think they had a question mark. But yeah, she was terrific. She played that really well. And James Whale, the director, is just an all-art artist. So if you ever want to watch a terrific picture by Bill Condon, who we talked about early, Gods and Monsters, is tremendous. And it's a story about him that goes flashing back to the making of that film and goes into some of his, you know, life.
Oh, cool.
Challenges and issues, and
that would be exciting. Now
it stars Ian McKellen and Brendan Fraser.
Oh, that sounds good. So what's it called?
Just a little pause.
Gods
and
directed by Bill
Monsters.
Condon.
Okay. I think there may be a friend of yours watching, Joe L. Holland, who says Bride of Frankenstein, one of the greatest horror films of all times.
Oh yes, Mr. Holland is one of the greatest kaiju Godzilla experts of all time.
Oh, well, thank you for watching, Al. It's great to have you here.
On horror in general, but I mean, that's a specialty of his. He's taught me a lot about it. And I'm not talking out of school, but, you know, he was one of the only people. Recently we lost Haruo Nakajima, who played the original Godzilla. We lost him, I think he made it, Ed, did he make it to his 90s? I think he did. He powered along. We had him at some of our shows, and Ed was the only American at the services in Japan. So he's quite a distinguished figure, and I'm really very privileged to have him tuning in and watching us gab.
Well, thank you for being here. And you have a fan here too, Cindy. Lori Kenyon says, "Love the unicorn."
Thank you.
We're just so glad that you're watching, and thank you for anybody who's watching the replay. This will be on YouTube and on Facebook forever. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. And if you're watching on the replay, also comment, and we'll get back to you when we can, because we check back often. And please feel free to like the page, Bubbler Media. We have a show here every Saturday night. We talk to entrepreneurs and authors and filmmakers and artists and all kinds of superstars. It's a lot of fun. And what else do we do, Cindy?
Sometimes we talk about birthdays. No.
Oh yeah, we do. We talk about birthdays and famous people. We'd like to dress up.
We do. I was gonna say, I was watching, I think, the first Tinseltown Halloween special, and you were showing us masks and saying, who are these people? Who are these people?
That's right.
Do you recognize this one? And it's like, oh my God, those were so awesome.
Aren't they? Those are, I had a makeup artist friend named Mitch Devane, brilliant. Probably one of the top 3, maybe 5, but probably 3 sculptors in the whole business. He's just incredible. And he was talking about how cool it is to think that when you're looking at a life mask, it's, made from a mold, that the person's face actually occupied that space. So you're actually seeing their face. And I never thought of them that way. I always thought of them as sculptures, but they really are, positives of the space that person's face occupied once upon a time. It's pretty cool. I have other things I can show you. Would you like some show and tell?
Yes, thank you. We love that.
We always come back to talking about Uncle Forrest J. Ackerman. We always ask anybody that doesn't know who Forey is to make sure to Google him, look him up on Wikipedia. But he's my mentor and the mentor of so many people. Ed Holland, who's watching, all of us probably wouldn't be here and doing the things we love if he hadn't told us that it was even possible for us to do that. We would have just been passengers and audience members rather than trying to actually make things. So Forey did get some recognition along the way. And before Forey was a horror guy, his love was science fiction. In fact, he created the term sci-fi. He liked to say that he was riding around in the car listening to hi-fi, and since science fiction had been on the tip of his tongue his whole life, he stuck out his tongue, and there tattooed at the end of it was sci-fi. So he coined that term, which stuck. And one of the greatest grandfathers of science fiction is Hugo Gernsback. The Hugo Award that's given out at the science fiction convention every year, World Science Fiction Convention, is a great honor. And this is Forey's Hugo Award.
Oh my goodness, look at that.
They're different every year. It's just like the Olympics. They bid for the convention every year, and then whoever wins it gets to host it. And this is the Hugo. This Hugo was given to Forey. He was the best fan writer, and this was done in retrospect, 1946. They hadn't given them out in that year, so he got this one in 1946. So this one is cool because they've always got a rocket ship on them, but this one's got like a film spool and these lights, these Klieg lights that light up when you push a button, and some sci-fi art on the side. So this is Forey's Hugo Award. That's pretty cool.
That is really cool, Joe. Thank you.
One of the most prestigious awards in our genre is the Science Fiction Academy Award, the Saturn Award. And this is given out to genre movies and different categories. And this is the one that Forey got. It's the Service Award he got for 1994, Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Film. It's the Service Award, 1994. So it's got Saturn.
That's
so
cool.
Brian Singer, the director, this is the only award he keeps in his office. Keeps this one up because he loves it. So
that's pretty
Saturn
cool.
Award. Now, back in the day, Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger himself, presented Forey at the Horror Hall of Fame Awards, which was televised. You can still see it. He presented Forey with the very first one of these, which Forey dubbed the Grimmy. It's the Horror Hall of Fame Award. Forrest J. Ackerman, in honor of his induction into the Horror Hall of Fame, September 20th, 1990. So Robert Englund gave this to Forey on that day. Yeah, it's heavy. That's the Grimmy Award. And finally, one of the most prestigious awards in our genre, specifically aimed at classic horror and the people that promote and sort of preserve it, is the Rondo Hatton Award. Now, Rondo Hatton was an actor that had a condition that caused him to look just like that, so he didn't even need to wear makeup. That's what he looked like. And this is the Rondo Award, and I'm proud to say that this is mine, actually. This is the award that I was presented for being one of the people that helped to get Forrest J. Ackerman Square up on Franklin and Vermont.
Oh, well, congratulations, Joe.
My third, so I'm very proud of that. And they're all Forey related. I hope to get one for something that I do just on my own. I've been nominated, but one day I hope to get one, because that one means a particular lot to me. So there's some of the awards. Forey got some rondos, and a lot of people did recognize him in his lifetime and consider him. Stephen King, he sent Forey his first story when he was 14, and and remained a fan. And if you read Stephen's book on writing, I think Forey appears in the first 2 pages as one of his influences. So.
Wow, and such a big influence on you and on us because of you and your so thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Did you come to the house at one time, Melissa? You went to the Acker Mansion once, didn't you?
No, I don't think so.
Remember, maybe Lito did.
Maybe Lito did, but just vicariously.
Well, Forey has an influence from beyond the grave. When kids hear a panel about him, or when they see something, a podcast like this, and they go and they look him up, I get lots of messages from people saying, how do I find out more? And, what was he really like? And I didn't know that he was such an influence on Peter Jackson and Steven Spielberg and, all of these people. I didn't know Tim Burton was, you just learn how many ripples in the pond he made. And he still does that, because the magic of Forey was not that he was walking around the earth. The fact is that it was his spirit, which continues to live on, his spirit of generosity. He really wanted all of us to holler from the top of the mountain about all this great stuff, so that we'd all see it, share it, and want to make more. So he knew if he was like a Forey Acker seed and spread the gospel of horror, that people would come to understand it, enjoy it, become a disciple, and then they'd make stuff. And Forey loved stuff. So.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of that has to do with you and the many people who carry on his legacy. Thank you. And you have Nicole Mo here saying hi, Joey.
My sister-in-law.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So, well, welcome to the family here at last night's show with Ms. Meliz. Nicole, we're glad that you're here. And if anybody has any questions for Joe, we're going to go over a few minutes. Please put them in the comments. And if we don't get your question right now, Joe will connect with you and answer. He's got so much information.
All of you. I hope that you'll come to the shows. There's lots of shows besides mine. I mean, Monsterpalooza happens in town, and our show is Mad Monster Party, and there's tons of them. Lots of fun stuff.
Well, I'd like to interview you again for like an official interview. This is just, fun hanging out with a friend. But I'm doing some more interviews on Anchor now. It's a podcast, and you can just kind of call on your iPhone. It's really cool. And so we can kind of just do a great discussion there. That would be fun. And anytime you're welcome to come back to last night's show with Ms. Meliz. You don't have to wait till next Halloween.
This is a great Halloween tradition. Happy Halloween, everybody. Get lots of candy, share lots of candy, but mostly watch horror movies, support them, and make some of your own. That's the message.
Yes, and have a scream on us. I love it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Cindy.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you, Michael. Bye-bye. Stay safe, everybody, and have a happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
I have to go here and click some buttons now.
Let me know.
Lito and I are in front of the Magic Castle in Hollywood, California. It's gonna be a fun night. We're both in here. Hi!